down to Doherty Ferry, and Big Bend down to Gravelly. Northbound's also heavy. Dorset up to 70 both ways. Between the 270 and the Blanchette Bridge are kind of busy. Westbound more so, backed up off those ramps from that earlier crash. Westbound 64, Boyle out to McCausland's on the brakes, but it's slow from 170 all the way to 270. Clarkson all the way to the Boone Bridge, and it jams. Lake St. Louis out to Prospect. Looks like we got trouble there. Southbound 55, a little busy. Arsenal Bates. Westbound 5570, 203 on the 64, 3rd Street, and 64 still backed up through 158 most of the way to Greenmount. I'm Roger Brand at the Michaels Flooring Outlet.com Traffic Center.
Retirement shouldn't feel like balancing your checkbook while blindfolded. I'm Gary Goldberg, and my team helps you see the big picture so you can retire younger, richer, and with less anxiety. Because guessing is not a strategy. Tune in to Wealth and Wisdom with Gary Goldberg Saturday mornings at 7 here on KMOX.
News, traffic, and the latest from the world of sports. This is Rush Hour Sports on 104.1 FM KMOX.
All right, welcome into Tuesday on Rush Hour Sports. Matt Pauley, Kevin Wheeler hanging out with you until 6 o'clock. Sports Open Line coming up after that. What's up, Matt?
Not much. How are you?
I'm good. I'm ready for off-season baseball talk, man. I know we did it. We did a lot with Bernie yesterday. I'm glad it's here. I'm not that I don't want to talk other things. I mean, I love talking football. Eventually, I think the Blues will give us more to talk about. Yay, they won last night.
They did.
They needed that really badly. I think this is just such a wildly interesting offseason for the Cardinals, but also for the league as a whole, that I'm just happy it's here.
It was a busy day today. A lot of opt-ins, a lot of opt-outs.
Yeah.
Options not being picked up, that sort of thing. It's some interesting decisions, and I know we'll get into some of them as we go along through the hour. But it was there was some interesting things that happened.
Yeah, some weird things with the
baseball.
Cubs and the Brewers.
Yeah.
I got a little surprised they're just sending Shota Imanaga right out into free agency.
Yeah,
you couldn't traded that contract?
You probably could have.
Maybe they tried and couldn't.
Do we really think he's not going to make that much money?
I bet he's going to get close to what he was owed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they traded Andrew Kittredge today.
Yeah, which
was kind of weird.
Then the Brewers, though, not exercising a $12 million option on Contreras, and then looking at the arbitration projection, and it looks like he's going to be like an $11 million arbitration.
This one really bothers me.
It's a weird one.
Yeah, this really bothers me, and I think this is one of the problems with baseball. The situation here is William Contreras had option years on his contract. The option years happened during his arbitration years. So if the option is declined, he goes back into arbitration. He had an option for this upcoming season at $12 million. His arbitration prediction is $11.1 million, and the buyout for the thing was $100,000. So there's an $800,000 difference. The Brewers are just assuming that he's going to make less than $11.1 million in arbitration. So that's why they did this. I think if I was the czar of baseball and I could make all the decisions I wanted to make, one of the first things I would do is, if you sign a contract that has option years inside of your arbitration years, your arbitration status gets blown out.
Yeah.
That if you decline an option, you can't just revert back to club control. That essentially it would become a non-tender.
Yeah.
So that would be one of the first things I would do. Secondly, and I realize the Brewers are really, really smart and they keep winning lots of ball games and they know what they're doing. But for you to do this over $800,000 to one of your top players who you may now have to drag through arbitration because of this, like that's a terrible decision. And it's the exact same conversation we had last year when the Cardinals and Brendan Donovan were $800,000 apart from each other. It's not worth doing that. And I realize the track record of the Brewers. I know who they are. But I think it is a terrible, terrible, terrible look.
Good.
When you're doing this.
Good. I hope they ruin their reputation with their players.
I hope they do too. This is a guy in William Contreras who wrote on the Players Tribune going into the postseason about how he loves Milwaukee and how when he first got traded there, he was bummed out, but then he learned about Milwaukee. He is so embraced everything that is Milwaukee. He's exactly what a small market team like that needs to be able to retain players, sometimes at less than market value. He's exactly what they want. And then they kind of screw him over for $800,000.
Not great. But the fact that the couple teams in the division are doing things that are a little weird, longer term could be a good thing. We know short term, don't hold your breath. I think it's important to keep repeating that, this is not a Cardinals team that's looking for a 2026 complete turnaround. I'm sure they want to be better.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they hope that there are opportunities out there that get them there. And we're going to do a little bit of that in the next segment because it's been pretty clear. I mean, Chaim Bloom flat out said it. They're going to look for some starting pitching and maybe a bullpen arm too to complement what they already have, but certainly not a rotation leader, certainly not an ace, certainly not a closer. So don't think about like Edwin Diaz, the bullpen. Don't think about, the big boys in there. Don't think Dylan Cease or whatever. Think more along the lines of guys on 1 and 2 year deals. And I got some names I want to throw at you. We'll do that in the next segment.
Okay.
But I saw this today, and Keith Law did a Q&A with an offseason Q&A about free agency and players and things along those lines. And a question came up to him about Donovan and Gray. And it was specifically about the Cardinals. Like, the question was more along the lines of, is there a world where the Cardinals can trade off some of their current players and then compete with what they get in return, right? And Keith Law's response was, I don't think trading Sonny Gray or Brendan Donovan is going to get immediate help. And I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think this is my point, that we kind of have to keep our eyes on the right prize. The right prize is the long-term asset. If we're thinking about trading Brendan Donovan and you're going to get your number 3 starter in that trade, you're probably thinking the wrong way.
Without a doubt.
Right? I mean, what you're probably thinking in these kinds of deals would be guys that are AA, maybe AAA, but guys that still have something to prove, and maybe they're blocked in their current organization. I know I've mentioned a bunch of teams that have a lot of pitching depth. Yankees have a lot of high-level pitching depth. I think the Dodgers too, and there's some other teams that are similar. But you're not getting a top 100 prospect for those guys.
No, you're not.
What you're getting are more quality depth pieces to raise the overall level. And then you're going to have to develop your own stars and then maybe eventually get back out into the marketplace and buy one, right? I mean, not now, but eventually that may be something you have to do. But I think the thing that we have to get to is an understanding as people following the Cardinals of what's realistic. And you pointed this out, I think, last week. You're going to see a lot of just flat out BS during the offseason. You're going to see stuff on Twitter that people are going to throw out there, and it's not real. And you're going to see people speculating in various places. I don't even want to categorize from who, because some of it might even come from people that are like, quote unquote, insiders. Mm-hmm. But you're going to see a lot of speculation on, and especially from fans who are going to be like, I think you should go get this team's number 1 prospect for Brendan. It's not happening.
Not happening.
That's not how it's going to go. Now, can you get a high quality player? Yeah, that's the whole point of considering trading those guys. You're not trading those guys just to trade them. You should keep them if you're going to do that. There is some value in just keeping those guys and seeing what happens at the trade deadline, when you're looking at teams that are in the midst of competing.
Yeah, and sometimes that market goes up and sometimes it goes down.
It can go either way, right?
It's hard to predict.
And with Sonny, I wouldn't wait. Yeah. Just on the case that, strained hamstring, he's mid-30s. I would move him while he's healthy. I
would also, I read today, Katie Wu wrote in The Athletic a story about just kind of going through an off-season primer. Yeah. And she ran one of the quotes from Chaim Bloom from his introductory press conference. And I think this is the quote that we need to continue to remember. Maybe we should just post it up in the studio for us always to remember. I will read. This is from Chaim. We will always want to win, and we will hunt moves and decisions that allow us to do that right now too, as long as they serve our ultimate goal. But when we have to choose between short-term gratification and our bigger goal of contending consistently, we will choose the long term.
Yeah, because that's your best bet.
That is the mantra of the offseason.
Yeah.
Everything that we talk about between now and opening day, we need to run through that quote and see if it fits.
Yeah, and that really is why we have to keep this as the focus of our conversations. And now, that doesn't mean there can't be major league additions. In fact, Bloom has said they're planning on that. They're planning on signing pitching, for sure, especially if you're trading Sonny Gray. You're going to have to add at least 1 starting pitcher because you've got some good, interesting young dudes that are on their way, but we don't know what timing is. Are they going to be their opening day, maybe June or July? We don't know. So you've got to have enough coverage to do that. And I want to throw some names at you. Okay. So The Athletic today did some projections. Tim Britton did it. He does a good job. But projections, just keep in mind, they all tend to be on the low side because once you get into the heat of the competition, some of the numbers go up. But he did projections, and I'm gonna throw out some names of guys that might make sense for the Cardinals for what we're talking about. And then we'll go yes or no. Would you or would you not? Talk about that next up here on KMOX.
You've got your whole life ahead of you, so choose a Medicare plan you can count on. And that's what you get with a Medicare Advantage plan from United Healthcare. With more than 45 years experience serving its members, United Healthcare has plans with low monthly
up at Boyle. It's slow all the way through to Hanley, from 170 all the way to 270, Clarkson all the way to the Boone Bridge, K midway to Winghaven, and 364 out toward Prospect. Southbound 55, Arsenal to Bates, westbound 44 backed up downtown, westbound 5570 at 203, 64 at Baugh, up through 3rd Street, and it's jammed approaching 158 through Greenmount. I'm Roger Brand at the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
The Woodlands of Arnold campus offers skilled rehab, a beautiful assisted living community, and a secure memory care to keep your loved ones safe. Check us out at rspseniorliving.com. That's rspseniorliving.com.
This is Rush Hour Sports on 104.1 FM KMOX.
Rush Hour Sports on KMOX. Matt Pauley, Kevin Wheeler with you here. Feel free to throw in your 2 cents if you'd like. You can do that on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. If you're on the stream with us, you can text 314-436-7900. So I was looking at, and again, I want to be clear, these projections, I'm not counting them as gospel truth, but it's just an interesting conversation starter because free agency is starting in 2 days. Yeah, I mean, it opens on the 6th, but nothing really happens until after the general managers meetings.
It's one of the worst things about baseball when you compare it to the NBA and the NFL.
Yeah.
Because, and there's not going to be a cap in baseball. There doesn't need to be a cap in baseball. But the one thing the cap does do in other sports is creates urgency.
Yeah, because you got to act fast because you're going to run out of space. Right. Yeah. And, I also think maybe some of that's a little bit overdone because of the way that's always the way the league has been. The NBA is kind of the same way. But it's fine. I mean, like baseball's going to be slower. It's a sport that's about pace anyway. We're all okay with it.
But what stinks is when
I would like to see almost an end window, though.
Well, that's the problem is when the market doesn't pick up until late January.
Yeah, it sucks.
Well, the entire baseball media community just got together a month earlier at the baseball winter meetings and sat on their hands for 4 days.
Yeah,
like there's actually a spotlight on the game during the 4 days of the winter meetings. There has to be things that happen there just for the health of the game.
All right, so let me throw some names at you. So this is from The Athletic. They did free agent contract projections. Tim Britton did it. Tim does a really nice job. But just keep in mind that projections usually end up a little on the low side because competition spurs them to go up.
Right. Although we don't know if it's going to be that way this year, a year before the CBA.
We're just kind of working with these names as a conversation starter.
Yeah.
Okay. That does not mean that I think that any of these names want to come here. That's not the question yet. It's just about the number and the level of player that we're talking about. Like we talked about this with Bernie. Forget Max Scherzer. Max Scherzer's not coming here. He's going to go to a contender.
Right.
Right. So even if he's going to do a 1-year deal at $15 million, and that sounds attractive, and the Cardinals probably would love that. I'm sure he knows he's near the end. He's 41 years old. He knows he's going to be seeking another contender.
And he and his boy, Tony Vitello.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that makes sense there because Verlander's also a free agent, and he's going to be the same, by the way. You're not getting Verlander. He's going to be looking at a contender as well. But if you look at the names, let's go. And I'm focused on starting pitchers, okay? Sure. They project Zach Eflin at 1 year and $17 million. He had a terrible year last year. He finished the year on the injured list with a back problem. Mm-hmm. I'm a no on a back problem for $17 million on this team.
I would agree.
I like that pitcher.
Yeah.
And a year or two ago, a few years ago, I was kind of like, that's a guy you should get in on.
This time last year, he was coming off a 3.59 ERA. Now he only appeared. No, you know what? He pitched 28 games in 2024 between his two teams. So very different guy. Back issues are hard to navigate through.
Yeah, and again, when I'm only going on a 1-year deal, I mean, if I'm the Dodgers and I can just stash him until July, great.
That's what they do.
But I'm not the Dodgers, and I'm in a little bit of a rebuild. What about Jordan Montgomery? So they pegged Jordan Montgomery at 1 year, $18 million. That feels insane to me. I would maybe think about Montgomery on 1 year at half that.
Yeah. I mean,
he's barely pitched, and isn't he coming off Tommy John?
He missed basically the season.
Yeah.
I guess he pitched a little bit more, but I don't think he'd come here.
No, that's a fair point because I would say it's at least a possibility because he was really good here.
Yeah.
And he may not have a ton of options, but again, to me, that's not attractive for the Cardinals.
So he did not pitch an inning in 2025.
Yeah.
I don't know when he is set to be back
healthy. And he was awful in 2024.
Yes. And the owner of the Diamondbacks took shots at him and called that a bad contract.
Yeah.
I just remember every opportunity he ever had when he was here about, hey, would you want to, resign? He hemmed and hawed.
Yeah.
I don't think he loved it here.
Things change when you're facing a crunch and you're not sure you're going to have a team.
That is true.
How about Zach Littell? So they projected Zach Littell at 2 years and $20 million. So 10 a year.
Do I have to?
I'm sorry. Hold on a second. Let me make sure I got that right. Yeah. 2 years and $20 million.
I lean yes. I don't love the second year, but I lean yes.
I think that's the caliber of guy we should be thinking about.
Yeah.
Because he's 30, so he's not old. He's young enough to be good for 2 years. He's solid, but not spectacular, right? So this season, his total, it was a 3.81 ERA.
Which is fine.
Yeah, it was a 4.88 fielding independent. So a little scary there, and I'd have to look at some of the other things. But again, What we're talking about, he threw 186 innings. What we're talking about are guys that can cover innings until you know what you can expect from Quinn Matthews, from Liam Doyle, from Ishan Henderson. I'm sorry. I think they have a lot of questions to answer as far as when guys are going to be ready, but that's a player that can go give you competitive starts every fifth day for most of the season.
Okay, let's put that 3.81 ERA in perspective, too, when it comes to the Cardinals. That would have easily been the best ERA.
No, that's a good point.
Any pitcher the Cardinals. What was his expected?
No, I didn't look at the expected. His fielding independent was 488.
So even if he had a 488 ERA, that's still better than everybody but than Liberatore and Gray.
Yeah, his expected was 448.
Okay, same thing.
Which would be, for the Cardinals' purposes, fine if he gives you 160 innings.
Yes. So again, same thing I just said. A 4.48 ERA was better than everybody not named Matthew Liberatore and Sonny Gray.
All right, let's do one more quick name here, and then we'll do another. We'll do some more coming up. Would you consider Brandon Woodruff at 2 years and $40 million?
Yes.
Because they're looking at 20 a year is what they project for him.
Yes. Absolutely.
You would?
100%.
Yeah?
Yep.
I mean, I think he'll have contenders, so I wouldn't expect him to just be like, yes, but you would do that. I might not for that much money.
He's a $20 million a year pitcher.
I agree, but he's coming up on 33, and he's had a lot of injuries.
He hasn't had a lot of injuries.
He only made 12 starts this year. He didn't start at all in 2024, and he only made 11 starts in 2023. And now he's 33.
He had an injury at the end of the season that wrecked his postseason.
Yeah.
He had an injury coming into the season.
But it's a shoulder, and he was out for a year and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when he was pitching, he was good.
Yeah.
And this is going to be his first standard offseason in a while. And this is a guy who was a 30-game starter in 2021. He's a 27-game starter in 2022. He had been those are not bad numbers. I think he's a guy that is, if you have him instead of Sonny Gray, you put him right there at the top of the rotation. So I'm a yes on Brandon
All
Woodruff.
right, I got another name. We'll do it after on the other side of the news because I got another name that's my favorite one of the names.
All right.
And we'll get through that. And maybe
Woodruff might have been my favorite.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And again, he's really good. And I think he's going to be with a contender. I don't think he's going to come to a team like the Cardinals.
I also agree.
Yeah. But in theory, that's not a bad commitment at 2 years, especially if you're trading Sonny Gray. That's Matt Pauley. I'm Kevin Wheeler. This is Rush Hour Sports on KMOX.
It's the most inspiring night in sports. The
about Ladue. It's slow to 64, and then it jams again down through the Clayton Road overpass. So hard to see where it is, but backed up traffic both ways. If you're on 270 northbound, Manchester up to Olive is still pretty busy. South 170 is stop and go from Olive down to 64. Westbound 64 busy from the Science Center to Hanley, west of McKnight, all the way out through 270. West of Clarkson, there's a couple of slowdowns to the Boone Bridge, west of K to Winghaven, and 364 out to 70. 364 Mid Rivers out to K is slow right now. If you're on westbound Highway 70, heavy traffic around the city limits both ways coming in through that Lucas Hunt area, a little busy. Westbound at the airport, 270 out to the Blanchette both ways is slow from 79 out through K. And around Lake St. Louis, it gets a little busy. Southbound 55 Arsenal through Bates, you've got some slow stuff there. Westbound 370 still jammed from the Mills out to Earth City. Crash just west of there. It looks like maybe the right lane's blocked. 5570 jams 203 on the 64 at 3rd Street. 64 still backed up 158 most of the way to Greenmount. I'm Roger Brand at the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
This report is sponsored by Overhead Door Company of St. Louis.
Your garage door is always there for you, rain or shine. Are you taking your garage door for granted? Is it screeching and whining for attention? For same-day service, call 314-781-5200 and schedule online at overheaddoorsstlouis.com.
Rush Hour Sports continues on 104.1 FM, KMOX.
All right, Tuesday on Rush Hour Sports. Matt Pauley, Kevin Wheeler with you here talking baseball. We're now into the Cardinals/MLB offseason, so we're diving right in head first.
Let's go. Let's go.
So I'm throwing out pitchers, again, of the caliber that we should probably expect. Like I threw out Brandon Woodruff. He's not coming here. Brandon Woodruff is probably going to seek a contender. But these are the guys, 1 and 2 year deals, maybe with some upside. At the very least, though, like inning stability is what the Cardinals are going to seek. I was actually joking about this with Derek Gould the other day. We were texting, just kind of off air, just texting. And it's like, yeah, they kind of need a guy that can carry some of the workload like Michaelis did, but it just has to be a different name.
Yes.
It has to be a different guy. Ideally, ideally the younger Miles. The guy that, when they first signed him.
Yeah, coming straight back over.
And this is not my favorite name. I'm going to save that one for a second.
Okay.
But this is one I forgot in the last segment. But there's a guy named Cody Ponce, who's coming back from Korea. Had a great year in Korea. So he was 17-1 with a 1.89 ERA in the KBO this year, 180 innings, which is a draw. Mm-hmm. 180 innings and 252 strikeouts.
That's a lot.
Now, let's keep in mind a couple things. He's going to be age 32.
Yeah.
He's appeared in 20 major league games with a 5.86 ERA. Now, granted, that was several years ago. He last pitched in the majors in 2021. He did pitch in Japan, but his time in Japan was not nearly as successful as his time in Korea. It wasn't terrible. In Japan, he was I think it was 3 seasons, and it was a 4.54 ERA. But he had a big year this year. It looks like he's trying to come back, and the projection on him is 2 and 20, so 10 a year. And he's 31, coming up on age 32. A little bit risky. But if you're looking for innings, that's not a big price tag.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I'm not jumping.
It wouldn't be my
for
first
this.
choice, but I get it. I get it.
If he gets that from somebody, I'm not going to bat an eye.
Yeah,
that seems about right.
Now, I don't know about the players' view of this, but this is my favorite one of the names that was listed in the projections.
Okay.
In part because of the name,
Trevor Bauer.
Yeah. In part because of the name, in part because of the age, and because of the projection that Tim Britton put on this guy. For the Athletic, Dustin May.
Yeah, you've been talking about him for months.
To me, this is you shoot big. It could be a spectacular failure, but his upside is crazy because he's a guy. He throws a 98, 99 mile an hour sinker, and he's got a chance to be. He's been hurt a lot, and this year he wasn't hurt, but he was erratic because he hadn't pitched in a while.
Right.
But they projected him at 2 years and 26.
It's not
so 13 a year. I would jump on. And now, if he's willing to come here for that, sign me up now. I don't even need to wait. I don't need to talk to anybody else. For a 28-year-old, sign me up right now.
That seems low to me.
I agree.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to get that number. I think he's going to get more years. I think he's going to get more than 2 years. I think he's probably going to get closer to $15 million a year.
It's like 4 years and 60.
So maybe not 4, but I bet he's going to get at 2 with an option of some kind. Yeah. Probably, $45 million total. But what we don't know is, what does he want? He's 28. He could very well want a shorter term deal to reestablish himself and then get back out there at some point in the next couple of years.
Yeah, I think.
But either way, if that number's even close, That's my number one choice. Again, assuming he doesn't have contenders breathing down his throat, because he probably will. But that's what I would love, that kind of play.
Yeah, generally speaking, I think what you're looking for is either guys who are willing to come in kind of under market value because they want to build their own value back up, or you're looking for people who are willing to sign deals that are long enough that you feel like they're still around when you're back competing.
Yeah. And
those are kind of the two different routes that you go down.
Yeah. And Dustin May by no means he was not good this year. I mean, that's just a fact. He was not good this year. He had command problems. His fastball velo was down a little bit from where it was before, but to keep in mind, he got hurt in 2023, did not pitch in 2024, and it took a long time for him to get back. And command is always what comes back last when you're coming off elbow injuries.
And the strikeout numbers were still respectively between Boston and LA, 123 strikeouts and 132 innings, so just under a strikeout per inning.
Not elite, but if you flash back to when he was last healthy in 2023, his average fastball was 97 miles an hour, is the top 8-9% in Major League Baseball. And he was the king of giving up soft contact.
Right.
He wasn't actually healthy that year either, because he really hasn't been healthy since
So he will fit in here.
Yeah, I was gonna say he hasn't been healthy, I don't think, since 2021. Which is, by the way, why you might be able to get him at a really good price. When you're in the Cardinals position, if you can get a guy like that, and he pitched 130 innings last year, so you could probably safely say 150, 160 this year. When you're looking at a player that's 28, it's rare to find those guys who have in their background upper 90s stuff, and he's close to that now. I mean, he's still 96. I think he can give him another year to be healthy. You might get a bigger version of that fastball. That's the gamble I want to take.
I would agree.
I think the floor is risky because of injuries, but the ceiling is high. And I would be shooting for ceiling.
I would too. Because if you hit the floor, it doesn't really have any sort of overall negative impact on the organization because of the expectations going into the season.
Yeah. And, I think there's a chance. And again, we're just tossing out some of these names because they were in the projections. These guys may end up, none of them being interested in St. Louis. The Cardinals may not have any real interest in them. Maybe they're too expensive. Maybe they're going to be looking more along the lines of giving Eric Fetty another look, but please don't do that. Even if it's the same kind of guy, don't bring the same guy.
Right.
Don't do that.
Well, there is the PR side of it.
No, I
agree. This is why we talk about Miles Michaelis, because like you said, there are parts of Michaelis that actually would fit in.
Yeah.
But I think it would be a PR disaster to have him back.
There are a few others, and I don't have the names off the top of my head, so we'll just have to bring it up another time. But there are a few others of guys that, one of them, a guy named Anthony Kay, is definitely, to me, a guy to keep an eye on. So Anthony Kay was a first-round pick in 2016 with the Mets. He's been pitching overseas, and he's looking to come back. He's a lefty, so he's another guy that might fit, because I think that kind of play, even though my favorite is Dustin May, I don't think it's happening.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I think he'll have either bigger markets coming in, like bigger contenders, or the Cardinals will have just enough worry about his health to go a different direction. I think guys that are like these guys coming back, the newer Miles Michaelises, the newer Eric Fetties, that are they're doing something, they're going to come in pretty reasonably.
They are.
That Anthony Kay, he might come in for a 1 or 2 year deal at $8 million a year.
I think it's also worth noting because right now they have enough guys to fill a rotation. If the season were
not if they're trading
right now
Sonny
at 5:49 p.m. on November 4th, they have enough guys for a rotation. If you had to start tomorrow, it would probably be Gray, Liberator, McGreevy. I'd say Leahy and Matthews. I'm not including Palante because I actually think Palante is going to be non-tendered.
Really? I'll be surprised if he is, but we'll definitely know soon.
Okay, yeah. So I think Palante is going to be non-tendered, so I'm taking him out of it. So to me,
Matthews he can't be counting on him right now.
I can.
How?
Because this team is where it's at right now.
Yeah, but they don't want to mess with his development and bring him up when he's not right. He's going to have to show them he can throw strikes.
I give him every opportunity.
I know he did before, but he's got to show it before you're going to give him a spot.
No, to me, I'm penciling him in, and he's got to pitch his way out of the rotation. He's in my rotation going into the season.
I mean, I want him to be. I would try to, I would set it up so that's possible, which is another reason why I would think about keeping Palante, because if I want to bump someone, that's the guy I bump. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Palante's not worth what his arbitration number is going to be.
What's that?
Palante's not going to be worth what his arbitration number is going to be.
Maybe not, but it depends on what you know you can acquire before that, because they're going to trade Sonny Gray.
I'm not 100% sure on that.
Really?
I'm like 60-40 they will.
All right. Wow, I'm a little more like 80-20.
Okay. Let's see, where is it? Palante's number is at $3.4 million.
That's fine. That's a middle reliever.
I think you can get more for that.
Yeah, I don't think so. Not as a starter. You can get a middle reliever for that. Then you're going to get a Phil Maton for that.
We'll see. They're going to non-tender somebody.
All right, let's bet a milkshake.
Okay, that's fine.
We'll bet a milkshake.
They're going to non-tender somebody, and I think it's going to be Palante.
That's Matt Pauley. I'm Kevin Wheeler. We'll come back and wrap up the show next.
Traffic from the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
Well, it looks like this latest crash on southbound 270 before 64 is in the center lane. If I can see the flashing lights in the dark there, it's jammed south of 364 down to it. It's still heavy both ways between Ladue and Manchester on 270 even after that. Southbound 170 on the brakes, Delmar to 64. Westbound 70 still slow at the city limits. Slow stretches in spots from the airport out to the Blanchette Bridge, 94 out through Zumbel. After that, not so bad. 364 through Mid Rivers is still busy. Westbound 64 delays Science Center out to Big Bend. It's slow. Clayton Worson out to about Ballas. K most of the way to Winghaven and then approaching Prospect. Downtown westbound 5570 backs up approaching 203 on the 64 3rd Street. 64 158 delays most of the way through Greenmount. I'm Roger Brand, the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
It's the Medicare Advantage annual enrollment period, and Humana knows not everyone has the same needs when picking a Medicare Advantage plan.
Now that I'm retired, I want to enjoy the life I've worked hard to build. So I want a plan that covers me when I'm traveling the country.
Humana has a plan for that.
As a veteran, I want a plan that fills in the gaps my VA coverage doesn't provide, like dental care.
Humana has a plan for that.
I feel good about my health. I just want care and coverage with predictable costs. No surprises.
Humana has a plan for that. With a Humana Medicare Advantage plan, you get coverage and benefits that focus on what matters most to you. Learn more at gethumana.com. Humana, a more human way to healthcare. Humana is a Medicare Advantage HMO and PPO organization with a Medicare contract. Enrollment in any Humana plan depends on contract renewal.
This is Todd Krenz with Krenz Financial Group. For over 6 decades, we've helped St. Louis families and businesses plan with purpose and live with confidence. We work closely with professionals in healthcare, from doctors and nurses to medical sales and biotech and pharma. Our team helps you navigate complex financial decisions like retirement plans, disability insurance, consolidating old 401ks, and understanding stock options or RSUs. We make the process clear so you can focus on what you do best. Your goals, our mission. Start today at kfgadvisors.com.
Securities offered through Raymond James Financial Services. Member FINRA/SIPC. Krenz Financial Group is our broker-dealer.
Hey guys, Glover here for my friends Mark and Neil Gelman from the Gelman team of eXp Realty. If you want immediate cash for your home or to see what your home is actually worth in today's market, find out for free from the local experts. 314-336-1991. Go to thegelmanteam.com.
Don't miss Mosby Building Arts Home Improvement Shows, Saturdays from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. on KMOX. One of the last call-in shows where you can get live answers to your remodeling, design, and construction questions. Tune in Saturdays at 11 a.m.
This is Rush Hour Sports on 104.1 FM KMOX.
All right, wrapping up Rush Hour Sports in just a couple of minutes. Sports Open Line to follow. What do you got tonight?
We got a full 2-hour show. We're going to do a fair amount of baseball talk. We're going to do a little college basketball after a fun night last night.
Yeah.
And we will talk some Blues hockey. They got an important win last night.
Boy, they needed to break that streak, man.
Did you? I don't know if you were watching.
Yeah.
I was flipping between the Blues and SLU last night, and luckily I switched right over to the Blues. Right was as they were going on the power play where Dvorsky scored. He's out over on the right side, and he just has a missile.
He's got a great shot, man.
Oh, and that changed everything.
Yeah.
Moments later, they got kind of that lucky goal. They had an extra pep in their step. Everything changed. Hockey Amy Marks, of course, is going to be on today.
Nice.
She's going to do a weekly hit on Sports Open Line now.
Yeah, Amy was shouldering the blame for their bad start.
And rightfully so.
She said it's her fault because she's back covering the team now, and now they are struggling.
Yeah, obviously.
Which is total BS because last time she covered the team, they won the cup.
Well, but they had a bad start to the season.
No, that's true.
Yeah.
A horrible start.
Yes.
I mean, worst team in the league in January. This isn't that.
No.
They're a weird, frustrating team, but I don't think there's any question they're better than what we've seen.
I would agree.
It's just a matter of whether or not you're going to be able to erase the gap.
I just have no clue how good they actually are.
No. But again, expectation was contend for the playoffs.
Right.
Expectation wasn't run deep in the playoffs.
No.
They're still they're like in the middle stages of their rebuild.
Mm-hmm.
Cardinals are kind of in the beginning-ish, but not the very beginning. I'd say now that they're a full year into a rebuild. They didn't call it that last year, but that's what it was.
It absolutely was. Yeah.
That's exactly what it was. All right, man, have a good show.
Thank you.
And obviously, we got normal shows tomorrow. Thursday, we'll have a normal show here, but another Billikens game, I think, Thursday night, if I'm remembering correctly. And, of course, on Friday, then it'll be the three of us getting you ready for the sports weekend. But you got Sports Open Line coming up after the news right here on KMOX.
Why do the national tax resolution firms need the tiny fine print at the bottom of all their TV ads?
free November 22nd through the 29th at the Moolah Shrine Center.
We have an interesting ride in our temperatures over the next several days. It certainly was nice today with temperatures jumping into the low 70s, well above average by a good 10 degrees. Partly cloudy skies. We will be warmer this evening in the 60s and 55 for the low. On Wednesday, sunny skies. It's going to be turning windy as the winds swing to the north in the afternoon. I still like 73 for the high, but that's going to be late morning with a drop in temperature, kind of a slow drop in temperature into the 60s during the afternoon tomorrow. Wednesday night, the full moon, clear skies, it's cold, 41. On Thursday, sunny and 65 degrees. Thursday night, clouds, maybe a spot shower, 55. On Friday, partly sunny, maybe a spot morning shower. Spot the key word, 71. Then a strong cold front comes through late Friday night into Saturday morning. Saturday's high will be 61 degrees. Saturday night, there could actually be a couple of snowflakes here and there and quite windy. And then the high on Sunday will be 46 degrees. And again, we were talking about it yesterday, a widespread hard freeze on tap Sunday night and into Monday. Temperatures falling into the 20s. We do that again on Monday. From the Saliga Heating and Cooling Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Dave Murray on 104.1 FM, KMOX.
It is 60 degrees. The feels like is 55 downtown at the Arch. I'm Michael Calhoun, KMOX News.
Come on, let's get going now.
From KMOX Sports.
We're primed and ready. All day, baby. Man, let's go.
This is the Gray Bar Sports Open Live. Gray Bar, your distributor for electrical and datacom needs on 104.1 FM, KMOX.
All right, here we go. Welcome in. It is a Gray Bar Sports Open Line right here on KMOX. My name's Matt Pauley. Great to be able to have you with us today. We've got you for the full 2 hours tonight, taking you all the way until 8 o'clock this evening. We've got a couple guests who are scheduled to be on the program coming up in just about 20 minutes or so. We're going to talk with Stu Durando, covers the Billikens on his Substack, of course, longtime Post-Dispatch, STL Today guy. And then also later on this hour, we're going to talk with Hockey Amy, our own Amy Marks, of course. This is what we're going to do every Tuesday. So we've got this worked out now with Amy, where we're going to talk Blues hockey with her on every single Tuesday, unless something happens to pop up. And for those of you who don't know, Amy, in addition to hosting the Chris and Amy show, came up covering the Blues, does some TV work with Matrix Midwest, doing a Blues show with Chris Kerber. So she certainly is legit when it comes to all things hockey, and we're lucky that we're going to be able to talk to her on an every week basis. Pretty good night last night when we look at what happened sports-wise in the area. College basketball, SLU was able to get a win. Mizzou got a win. Illinois got a win, so that was good to see. The Blues won. So first and foremost, that's the most important thing. The Blues won. And it didn't really matter how it happened that the Blues won. It just, the fact that they won was the most important thing. But when we get into it a little bit and look at what happened, they're down 2-0 in the second period, fairly late in the second period. And it just kind of looks like it's going to be more of the same. And the Blues go on a power play, and Dalibor Dvorsky goes and gets himself open on the right wing, takes a pass, and just rifles a shot into the net. All of a sudden, it's a 2-1 game. That was impressive by Dvorsky. Everybody's talked so much about a shot. Well, we saw how, the kind of weapon it can be. And then a few moments later, Robert Thomas kind of got lucky, if we're being honest about it, as he had an angle that was kind of behind the net and basically carried it off back into the net. But that counts. A goal is a goal. And just like after being down 2-0 until about 4 or so minutes left in the second period, they scored 2 quick goals, and it just, something changed. When Dvorsky scored that goal, something changed with this team in the moment. Not that, sometimes we use terms like, oh, they were going through the motions, or like that's not what was happening. I'm not saying that they weren't putting an effort out. I'm not saying the energy wasn't there, but I am saying that when Dvorsky scored that goal, it uplifted everybody, it seemed like. And then they kind of got lucky with the Thomas goal. And then they go into the third period and play a scoreless third for most of the time until late. Pius Suter was able to score, and the Blues get the 3-2 win. That was an important win. And now the next thing is building upon that win and trying to go on some type of run. Go win 3-4 games in a row. Go win 5 out of 7. Go win 8 out of 11. Something like that. Go on a run like that, and you're going to be fine. Kevin Wheeler and I were talking about this yesterday on the Gas House Gang, because Kevin said essentially that the Blues are digging themselves a hole, which from like a dictionary definition standpoint, yeah, they were building themselves a hole. But when you really take a step back and look at where the Blues are at, even sitting, and this was true yesterday, it's not true today, because yesterday at this time, the Blues had 8 points, as do the Calgary Flames, which was tied for the least amount of points in the NHL this year. Now with yesterday's win, they have moved past the Flames, who did not play yesterday. But even with the Blues having the least amount of points, being the last place team or tied for last place in the NHL, they were still only 6 points out of a playoff spot. Now they had a ton of teams that were between them and a playoff spot. That was the bigger thing than the points. But if you go on a little bit of a run, you know what's going to happen? You're going to see a lot of those teams. And if you can be winning more games than you're losing, well, then you are going to have many opportunities to go beat teams that are in front of you in the standings, because when you have the worst record or have the fewest points in the NHL, everybody's in front of you. So I was never worried about their ability. Like, I don't think they're going to have to go on this incredible run to be a postseason club. If they just start playing better hockey, everything else is going to take care of itself, and they're going to slowly climb up that ladder. With the win yesterday, they're now 5 points out of a playoff spot. Again, a ton of teams between them and the playoffs. The Edmonton Oilers right now are the final team holding a playoff spot in the West. There are 6 teams between that and the Blues. But we don't need to be worried about on November 4th about them being buried. They're not buried. They're fine in that area as long as they can start playing better hockey. And it's just one game. It's just one game. It's just one win. It doesn't mean much of anything unless it's the start of something. So in a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, let's look at where this team is at. And if they go back to losing more than they're winning, then yesterday's win is just a ho-hum. Okay, they got to win. You're not going to lose them all. But if yesterday can be the start of something, and they did play better. They did play better in their 2 games leading up to yesterday. They played better against Vancouver, a shootout loss, and they played better against Columbus, a 3-2 loss. So it feels like they've been ramping in the right direction. The question right now, and I don't have an answer, so if you're looking for an answer, I don't have it for you. The question, though, that I'm waiting for the answer is, will that ramp continue? Is this team going to continue to get better and better and eventually kind of assimilate into being the team that we more expected them to be coming into the season? You want to join us today? You can do so. 314-436-7900. 314-436-7900. That's how you call. That's how you text. You can tweet at me as well, at Matt Pauley on air. For those of you who are watching on the video stream, you can leave a comment in the chat. We'll take a look at those as we go along through the program as well. Up next, we'll talk with Stu Durando. He covers Billikens basketball for his Substack, and we'll get his thoughts on what we saw out of the Bills last night. That is up next. We roll on. It's a Gray Bar Sports Open Line right here on KMOX.
You could think you found your dream home online. The kitchen island looks perfect for your inner chef. The
Miracle Network of Greater St. Louis, improving the health of all children.
This is Carol Daniel. I'm so proud to be part of KMOX's 100 years of broadcasting excellence. Congratulations.
You're locked into a Gray Bar Sports Open Line right here on KMOX. My name's Matt Pauley. Last night, as you heard here on KMOX, SLU basketball got its season officially started, and they knock off Southeast Missouri by a 92-67 score. It was a 9-point game at halftime, 44-35, before SLU really put together in the second half, outscoring them 48-32. Stu Durando has covered the team for a long time, now does it on his Substack, which is stuonslu.substack.com, and he joins us right now. Stu, thanks for taking some time with us today. How are you?
Yeah, good, Matt. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
So it didn't always look like the cleanest basketball, but it's not supposed to look that way on your first game of the year. Overall, did you feel like it was a good night last night for the Billikens?
Yeah, I mean, there were a lot of, complaints afterward about what they, didn't do well and how they need to improve a lot of different areas, and they still won by 25 points. So I think all in all, they walk away from it feeling pretty good. I'd say it was kind of a similar refrain after the Bradley exhibition game. And they won that game by 21, and all Schertz did was talk about how they, had to do things better. So I think they're really focusing on, improving things during this early part of the season when they've got teams that they should beat pretty handily.
Yeah, I mean, that's when you've got kind of a team that's a little bit more established, and when you've got a team that's got some expectations attached to it. Isn't that the way to do it? Schedule some games that you feel good about, and then go find the stuff that you don't do so well at and try to fix it?
Yeah, I mean, I think they would have liked to have had some tougher opponents all in all in the non-conference season that just didn't pan out. But yeah, the way it shakes out, I think it's pretty good for them. It's you've got a lot of players who have played Division I basketball, they just haven't played together. So now they're trying to figure out how to play together against different opponents as opposed to playing against themselves in practice for the last couple of months. So yeah, there's some things that were definitely ragged about it. Turnovers and a lot of fouling and things along those lines. But then you still walk away with 92 points and you hold the opponent to 67. Those are good numbers.
That's kind of the way things are now in college basketball, whether it's SLU or anybody else. Part of a coach's job is not about there's not going to be a lot of continuity from one year to the next. You got to be able to bring in each year a bunch of guys who probably haven't played together because of the transfer portal and everything else, and bring them together. So that's just kind of part of it now.
Yeah, it's just so weird. I mean, it's like constant turnover. I don't know if it's going to be as much moving forward as it has been the last 2 years, because these are two completely different teams in Schertz's first two seasons. And now the focus is on, can you did you build a really good team like you think you did, have a good season, and then retain all or most of these players? And that's really what they want to do, is they don't want to have to rebuild every year. They'd like to keep these guys around and kind of, start building the program.
We are talking with Stu Durando, covers SLU on his own Substack, which is stuonslu.substack.com. From a statistical standpoint, the two guys that really jump out with what they did, and they each had double-doubles. Robbie Avila had 18 points and 11 rebounds, and then Deion Brown has 11 points and 11 rebounds. What did you think of the production that they got from those two players?
Yeah, so with Avila, a couple of things that were really good to see. Numbers were good there, but he had just the one turnover. Turnovers were an issue last year, and he's been pretty good with those in the preseason and then last night. So just the one. And then he started off shooting the three really well last night. I think he made his first three, and then he missed his last four. But it was a good sign to see him come out and make those threes from the get-go. And so just an overall solid game for him. It was kind of weird. I think he had, looking at the box, he had no assists, which is strange for him, but it was a very low assist game. And then Brown, yeah, he's kind of like, he's kind of Jordan Goodwin, like, from 4 or 5 years ago, a 6'3" guard who rebounds, scores, and does a lot of, plays really good defense, drives. He just does a lot of things well. So he's one of the 6 transfers, and he was the one that stood out last night.
How good of a shooting team can this team be? I mean, the numbers last night were pretty good. 49% shooting. They were above 50% there for the first half. As you look at this group, do you think they have the ability to be a good shooting team?
Yeah, I mean, they have a ton of 3-point shooters, and last night they didn't really get going. I mean, overall as a group, they made 9 of 29. So what's that? It's less than 33%. So it's not really all that great. And Avila led the team in that category, but guys like Ishan Sharma and Brady Dunlap are considered kind of elite shooters, and Sharma had 1, Dunlap had 0. So they've got a lot of guys who can shoot, and the hope is that, you at least have 1 or 2 out of 5 or 6 who are on each night to kind of boost that area. And then the shot chart looked like a shirt shot chart last night. I mean, everything was beyond 3 and around the basket. No mid-range jumpers attempted, and that's the way he liked it. So as long as you can get those layups and threes, that they should shoot a fairly high percentage.
They're going to play their first 3 games over the first 8 days of the season, all against teams that they should beat: Southeast Missouri, Chicago State, and then they'll play Lindenwood coming up on Monday. Do you like this, that after going through everything you do in the preseason, going through practice, getting an exhibition in, getting a closed door in, being able to get a bunch of games in the first week of the season?
Yeah, I mean, they've just been waiting so long to play, and it's not like these are grueling games, to be honest with you. SEMO was probably the toughest of the first 3 opponents, at least on paper. Chicago State's, I think, analytically one of the worst teams in the country, actually. So, yeah, you get a bunch of games and find out what you think you do well might not be what you do well, or you might need to improve on it. And you're going to find out real quick playing 3 games in 8 days. And then, the schedule upticks a little bit from there moving forward. So they have 8 days to work on a lot of things, see what they do in the games, come back, practice, and fix things they don't like. And then, start taking on some tougher opponents.
He is Stu Durando. Again, you can read everything he writes about covering Billikens athletics on his Substack. Stu on SLU is the Substack. Give a plug for that for our listeners, because I know you do a lot of stuff, game coverage, but beyond that, a good way to stay connected with Billikens athletics.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. It's I've been doing it for a year, so I just went into my second year. I cover all SLU sports to some extent, or at least I try. And then the emphasis is on men's basketball. I'll do some women's basketball, but I'll be at all the men's home games and hopefully some of the road games. So it's kind of like just a continuation of my days when I was writing at the Post-Dispatch, but honestly about 5 times the amount of writing, just because I can write as much as I want. So it's kind of nice that way.
It's perfect at stuonslu.substack.com. Stu, thank you for taking the time, and hopefully we can continue to chat as the season goes along.
Yeah, sure thing. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Very good. That's Stu Durando joining us here on KMOX. We appreciate him taking a few moments with us. I thought it was a good performance from the Billikens last night. Really liked what I saw. Again, first game of the season. It's not going to be totally clean. I get that. There's going to be things that you get frustrated with. The 15 turnovers, that doesn't bother me all that much. I liked what I saw for the most part. I like the shooting, and they are going to continue to get better and better. And there's nothing wrong with talking about this team through the lens of having high expectations for the team, as they are openly talking about the fact that they do want to be an NCAA tournament team. They're going to have success in the non-conference. Stu alluded to it. The schedule doesn't allow you that many opportunities for those signature wins in the non-conference that help your resume at the end of the season. If you're in a spot where you're stuck looking for an at-large, They'll play either Minnesota or Stanford at an event that's going to be going on in California right around Thanksgiving. That's basically it. That's it for like name teams. They'll play, they play Santa Clara. Santa Clara tends to be pretty good. They'll play Grand Canyon. Grand Canyon tends to be a good team, but the only opportunity in their non-conference to get that real name victory is going to be when they match up against either Minnesota or Stanford in a game that's going to be coming up right here at the end of November. Again, Billikens back at it on Thursday night. They'll take on Chicago State. As Stu said, Chicago State, one of the worst teams in college basketball. They have been one of the worst teams in college basketball for an extended amount of time. I don't even know if they're in a conference anymore. I know they got kicked out of their league at one point just because they were so non-competitive, and they can't figure it out there. That's for sure. They don't have a whole lot of money at that school. That's a big part of it, but they have a hard time figuring out anything at Chicago State. All right, we'll take a break, and when we come back, we'll be joined by Amy Markscores as we'll find out from her what she thinks about the Blues win last night and if that might be the start of something. She joins us in just a moment. Don't go anywhere. You are locked into a Gray Bar Sports Open Line on KMOX.
Get ready, Missouri. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook.
87, MorelliTuckPointing.com.
Fridays mean football. From a zoo to the NFL, we've got your weekend covered.
All three, ready?
It's Friday football on KMOX.
Well, it turns out the St. Louis Blues can win a hockey game. Their long losing streak, which had gone to 7 games, came to an end last night when they knocked off the Oilers by a 3-2 score, coming back from a 2-0 deficit. We have talked to her before, but now this becomes official and regular. Amy Markscourse, Hockey Amy, she is going to join us on a weekly basis, generally here on Tuesdays, as long as schedules work out. And, of course, you hear her on the Chris and Amy Show. You also see her hosting a hockey show along with Chris Kerber over on Matrix Midwest. And she joins us now for our weekly conversation. Hi, Amy.
Hey, Matt, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for being your dance card is filling up. You're doing a Gas House Gang hit. You're doing the show. We see you on Donnybrook you're just got a million things going on, and you're finding time for little us at Sports Open Line. So thank you.
Always. It's fun. Sports Open Line, man. It's classic. You can't turn down Sports Open Line.
I like to hear that. That's very good. All right. So they win yesterday. I know I'm here to listen to you, but let me throw this at you and see if you agree or disagree. I thought when watching that game yesterday that everything changed the moment Dvorsky scored that goal. And it was just moments later they scored the equalizer, and I thought they played good enough in the third period and got the final goal. But there was, to me, something just changed when Dvorsky scored the goal, even when they were down. Agree or disagree with that idea?
Okay. So to me, from the outside, I agree with you. I feel that the energy changed, and that, as an old hockey coach used to say, they had a little pep in their step out there on the ice. Now, Jim Montgomery was asked that very thing about the bench. How did it change when 54 gets his first NHL goal? And Jim Montgomery said, on the bench, I don't really think it changed that much. We were confident. Even though we were down, Montgomery said, they had, 3 odd man rushes leading up to that point. But man, I don't know, just, obviously the coach knows his team and knows the confidence, but at the very least, maybe we were projecting our own excitement, Matt, but I felt like Enterprise at least got excited, because not just to be in this winless streak, this 7-game winless streak, and to feel like, oh my gosh, here we go again. Like, just the play creation by Connor McDavid, going down by 2 goals. Yeah, he didn't get a shot on goal, but he still got 2 assists. You feel like, here we go, we're going to lose this game. But to see Dvorsky's goal, to feel that energy and to watch them come back, I do feel like it switched on that goal.
Yeah, we have heard Jim Montgomery talk so much about Dvorsky's shot and not taking anything away from what we see in the preseason, but that. Yeah, I thought I was watching the game on TV, and the way FanDuel presented it on the replay was fantastic, because they had the high camera looking across the ice, and you saw him, come off the face-off and then circle around and create a little bit of space and get open on the right wing, and then takes the pass and scores. But that was, Amy, that's a thing of beauty right there. That is a shot. That's a weapon, and I hope that he never spends another day this year not at the NHL level, because you can use that.
Oh my gosh. To go bar down on a one-timer for your first NHL goal, that's a little razzle-dazzle. I mean, that's just flashy and it's fun. And after the game in the locker room, Dvorsky said, well, I don't care if I kicked it in. I'm just glad I got my first goal. But you got to feel good. And not only that, I'm really glad you brought up the face-off win. Dvorsky wins that face-off. He's killing it in the face-off circle, by the way. He wins that face-off, drops it to Robert Thomas. Thomas, who is that play creator, that driver, passes to Justin Falk, who has a great pass for the one-timer back to Dvorsky. It was so clean. It was such a clear cycle of the puck, controlling on the power play, which we haven't seen. Everything has looked kind of messy and kind of disorganized. And this execution was so crisp. I feel like that was huge. Honestly, Matt, other points of the game that I thought really injected the team with excitement. you saw finally some big saves by Jordan Binnington. He made some big saves, just sliding across the crease to cover. And I think that gives a level of confidence, even if it's subconscious, to the guys playing in front of them that I think is palpable.
Yeah. So now the big question is, because we're sitting here and I've been talking to you for 10 minutes now, and it seems like everything is, honey and roses when it comes to this Blues team. It's not. They've still lost 7 of their last 8. The question is going to be, can they build off this? And they were even building towards this because their 2 performances leading into this, while they were losses, they clearly played better against Vancouver and better against Columbus. But can that ramp keep going? Like, it feels like, I know it's still early on in the season, Amy, but it feels like this is kind of a crossroads moment for this team.
Yeah, they're going to have to build on it. So before the game, I said, you know what the 7-game winless streak feels like? It feels like when you have the flu and you've just been sick for several days and you feel like you'll never feel normal again. Like, this is your new reality. That's how it felt. I mean, it just felt impossible to score, impossible to win. But there's so many things that went right. I mean, I was excited to see that first power play unit. We already brought up the Dvorsky goal on the power play, but I was excited to see it because you have Dvorsky and Snuggerud on that line, which I feel like is the enthusiasm of youth. So you have that, but also big saves from Binnington. You get Robert Thomas back, Matt. What a difference, right? To see this team with and without their best player. So you get Robert Thomas back, who, by the way, scores right after that power play with about a minute left in the period. And he was kind of laughing afterwards because it was kind of a lucky bounce. The way he just happened to be in the right position after it hits off the end boards, he slaps it behind the goalie, it bounces off the goalie and in. And I was thinking about that. I think that was the first good bounce the Blues have had all season. That's the first good bounce. But the thing is, you have to put yourself in the right position to get those good bounces and benefit from them, because we talked about the bad bounces the Blues had, but one reason they had so many bad bounces is because they were playing so poorly. When you have a chance to clear the zone and you don't clear the zone, when you have a messy breakout and you have a turnover in the neutral zone, when you have a sloppy pass and you can't sustain pressure in the offensive zone, it's another turnover. All of those are poor plays that lead to an opportunity or an environment where you can be a victim of a bad bounce. So I like you said, we have to be careful. It's one win, right? Yeah. out of 8 games, but so many things that were going wrong were going right. And I think it's totally valid to be excited and build on that.
And puck luck favors the team that's playing with excitement and the team that's doing the small things right. So you're right. I mean, that seemed like a lucky goal for Thomas, but I don't think it's a coincidence that it happens 2 minutes after Dvorsky scores that goal. And we noticed the added enthusiasm at that point.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Another thing, I feel like in the offensive zone, for a lot of games, the Blues weren't able to find those seam passes, right? It was just, they were just hitting off guys, just missing the mark, or even Colton Parayko for a while, I feel like was not able to get those shots through. And we saw 55 with the big windup from the blue line. And Pius Suter was Johnny on the spot to knock in that rebound. And that was the game-winning goal for that 3-2 victory. And when you look at Pius Suter and the way he plays, a lot of credit to him. Not only is he just such a smart player, defensive forward, but he's not big like Toropchenko. He's not big like Jake Neighbors. So as Jim Montgomery pointed out, for him to be in front of the net and get those rebounds, he can't plant himself there because he can't hold his ground. He's just not big enough. It's all about timing for him and moving and reading the play. And I think it was just a really, really smart play for him to be in that right spot in the low slot at the right time.
When they were losing games and losing them in one-sided fashion, the defense just was not there. And Montgomery said multiple times that he feels like the defense can get cleaned up very quickly. I thought a lot of times we judge, and I know when I say we, I'm including Montgomery in this. It feels like defensively the team is being judged on how many high percentage chances they're giving up, and it didn't feel like they gave up as many last night either.
Yeah, no, it really didn't, and it was interesting because some of the writers after the game were asking Montgomery, like, "Hey, you kind of did a good job with McDavid, no shots on goal for McDavid. And Montgomery said, well, trying to shut down McDavid is like shutting down Michael Jordan. You're lucky if you limit him to 30 points. And McDavid had 2 assists, no shots on goal. But what I like was that approach, because the defensive pairing we saw that we've been seeing recently is Broberg and Parayko. Remember, they started the season with Fowler and Parayko. But Broberg and Parayko, Fowler and Falk, I think that's worked really well. And I think part of not giving up those grade A chances, yes, is on your defensive pairing, those guys playing smart. The team was watching a lot of videos, specifically Broberg and Parayko on McDavid. Montgomery calls him the MDM, the most dangerous man, and he put the W afterwards for McDavid, which would be the most dangerous man in the world because of how good he is. And Broberg was up to that challenge. So, yes, the defensemen, but they also said all 5 guys have to play defense. They just have to. And having your forwards connecting and organized rather than disconnecting and disorganized, that is going to help limit those opportunities for breakdowns at the blue line as well. And so I really like the way forwards, like, Jordan Kyrou, we're back checking. You just got to be smart. It's got to be 5 guys.
We're talking with Amy Marks. Of course, we're going to do this every Tuesday, talk all things Blues hockey. Amy, before we get you out of here, of course, people can hear you every day during the Chris and Amy show from 9 to noon, along with Chris Ranji. But for those who have not yet to tune in, tell our listeners where they can see you on TV with the show that you're doing alongside of Chris Kerber.
Yeah, it's Offside Hockey with Kerbs and Amy. So Chris Kerber and I, every Wednesday, 6 p.m. on Matrix Midwest. It's that affiliate channel of KMOV. So Matrix Midwest is channel 32 over the air, channel 6 if you have Spectrum, or you can download the Matrix Midwest app and stream it live.
Very good. Amy, thank you for doing this. I look forward to talking hockey with you every week.
Me too, Matt. Thank you.
Awesome. That's Amy Marks, of course, joining us. Hockey Amy, the Hockey Amy segment each week. We need to get that sponsored. Hockey Amy, brought to you by, I don't know. We'll figure it out. If you want to sponsor the Hockey Amy segment, just find me and I'll get you connected to the correct individuals, and we can probably make something happen for you. All right, we will take a break in our second hour. We'll probably talk a little City SC. We haven't gotten into yet the new sporting director being hired. I'll be bluntly, I can't evaluate this hiring, but we'll try to touch on it a little bit. But we'll also do a lot of baseball in the final hour of the program as well. More coming up, though. We're not to the second hour quite yet. We're rolling on in just a moment. This is a Gray Bar Sports Open Line on KMOX.
St. Louis, fall is finally here and back with everything you love about the holiday season.
$9,999. The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be solely based on advertisements.
I love i3 Broadband. They are the internet service provider at my home. I've never loved an internet service provider in my life. This is kind of a new thing for me, but we use it. All of us, we use internet, everything we do. I don't have like a snazzy fridge or a snazzy dishwasher that uses Wi-Fi, but I'm sure many people listening right now do. And do you really want your Netflix bogging down because you're running your dishwasher? Like, that seems kind of weird, right? You don't want that. You're never going to get that with i3 Broadband. They always mirror their upload and download speeds, which is awesome. They have great speeds. You can get a 1 gig, a 2 gig, or an 8 gig package, 100% fiber internet. That's a big deal. When it comes to reliability, when it comes to speed, you never have to worry about your price going up. They've got price lock guarantees. When you get locked in, you're not going to beat their value. You're not going to beat their support. I've only had to call in to support once, and it was because I made a mistake, not because they made a mistake, because I can't write down a routing number when I'm paying my bill. So they took care. They're awesome. The support's awesome. The service is awesome. It's reliable. Again, it's great. I just figure out if they're available in your neighborhood. That's the first thing. i3broadband.com. And if they are, just find out if it's going to work for you, because it probably will. It's the best internet I've ever had. I think it's going to be the best internet you have as well. i3broadband.com.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. Ever wonder why Big Wireless wants you on?
Of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements. Past results afford no guarantee of future results. Every case is different and must be judged on its own merits.
Welcome back to the Gray Bar Sports Open Line. Once again, Matt Pauley on KMOX.
We are wrapping up hour number 1 of the program. Hour number 2, we're going to do pretty much nothing but baseball from 7 to about 7:30, and then Dale Schilly is going to join us at 7:35, and we're going to talk through the decision that City just made on who their next sporting director is going to be. So that's all going to be coming up. Yesterday, we had a very short show because we were done for Billikens basketball. So this is the first show that we've done, a first full 2-hour show since Halloween. Kyle Sixta, I've got a little bit of a beef when it comes to Halloween.
Let's hear it.
I have an issue with the people who decorate for Halloween, like their house is decorated, they got stuff all over the place, but then they've got the light turned off on trick-or-treating time.
That's
I
wrong.
feel like there is a social contract that if you have Halloween decorations up, at the very least, you have to set out the bowl on the front porch.
100%. The bare minimum. You set out the bowl,
Yeah.
take one piece, take 2 pieces of candy, whatever it is. That's the bare minimum
Right.
if you're going to go all
You
out.
can't have a house that's done up and then not have trick-or-treating there.
Very contradictory.
Yes. So that bothered me because we were not at our home. We left the bowl out. We're not really, we didn't even leave a note. People could take as much candy as they wanted. And for the most part, the trick-or-treaters did a nice job. How was your Halloween?
My Halloween was great. I went home, visited my parents. My dad is crazy on Halloween. I don't know if I've told you this before, but he dresses up as Michael Myers.
Okay.
And scares kids.
Oh, that's good.
So yeah, he would put on the mask and he would go on the side of the house. And as kids would come up and trick or treat, he would scare them. And right as they turned around to leave, screams, like these kids were freaked out. And my dad has kind of gained a reputation of he's going to scare you. So like people are cautious coming to our house this year.
Does he do it in different ways? Is it the same thing every year? Does he kind of
it's
change it up?
So this was the first time he did this. Last year, from what I heard, I wasn't there last year. He pretended to be a dummy that was holding the bowl that said, "Take one piece of candy, please." And if you took more than one, he scared you.
Oh, that's
so a
good.
little bit of justice for taking more than one.
That's good.
Yeah.
There we have somebody who has a Michael Myers statue and not statue, but like a full sized, whatever you would call it. I don't know. And it looks really lifelike, and we'll like look at it like, is there a real person there? And there's not, but that's last year's one. That's pretty good.
It was fun.
Yeah. He has to be able to be really still to pull off the I'm not a real person.
He does.
All right. So your dad's into Halloween, obviously.
Very much so.
Okay. Very good. Hour number 2 of the program coming up after the 7:00 news. Again, we're going to do all baseball through the first half hour. Today was an interesting day. There's been a number of opt-outs, some opt-ins. We're starting to get closer to some of these, actual real decisions that are going to be made this offseason. So we're going to talk through that. We'll talk Cardinals baseball. We'll talk Major League Baseball. And then Dale Schilly will join us at about 7:35. We got a lot coming up in the 7:00 hour right here on KMOX.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance supervisor at a manufacturer,
65. For tomorrow, sunshine, gusty at times. High temperature is 73, but we'll peak at that and then drop through the afternoon to 41 for the overnight low tomorrow. Then Thursday, sunshine, high 65. Right now, we've got 60, feels like 54 downtown at the Arch. I'm Michael Calhoun, KMOX News.
Welcome back to the Gray Bar Sports Open Line. Once again, Matt Pauley on KMOX.
Into the 7 o'clock hour we go. A lot of baseball talk this hour. We just heard from Michael Calhoun. He was talking about the tax credits given in Missouri and how Ted Lasso was being filmed in the state of Missouri. Michael, do we know like how much of Ted Lasso's upcoming season was filmed in Missouri?
Well, I think that kind of depends on their timeline, the storyline, because he comes home, right?
Yes, but I think he then goes and coaches a women's team back wherever they're at. Where I can't even what's the name of? I love Ted Lasso. I can't think of the name of the team right now.
Oh my gosh.
What am I doing?
What
am I doing? We're all like Googling at the second. Ted Lasso is like an all-time top 10 team for me. So, but yeah, I think he goes back there to coach the women's team, is from what I understand is the plot line.
That's a great stadium.
Yeah.
That they just built on the riverfront and part of the revitalization of Kansas City there. It's really cool though. One of my favorite movies is Up in the Air. In part because I love to go through and, go, hey, that's the Bank of America building. Hey, that's the Spire building. Hey, that's whatever high school. But
AFC Richmond, by the way. AFC Richmond. There you go.
That's one of those where once you say it,
yes, like of course it is.
Yeah,
but it's been a few years since the last season of Ted Lasso. Do you watch Ted Lasso?
I do. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
They tried to like almost do another Ted Lasso thing with the Hulu show that was inspired by Eli Manning's thing. Not Parsons.
Is that Glenn Powell show?
Yeah. He's a football player who like goes into disguise, and Chad Powers. That's the name of the show.
Chad Powers. See, I've seen so many billboards and like signs for that show, and I'm like, this is the most promoted show I know. I have no idea what it's about.
I watch it. It's already done. It was It was a 6-episode first season, and Ted Lasso was based upon commercials that they did on NBC for the English Premier League that ran during NFL games. So what they did here was Eli Manning has like an ESPN Plus show, Eli's Places, and he actually Eli Manning at one point went into full disguise and went to Penn State and did a tryout, like he was trying to be a walk-on, and he was awesome, but he looked funny. He had the long hair, he had everything, and that video clip ended up going viral. So then they made the TV show, because that's done by Omaha Productions, which is Payne and Eli's production company.
I got to say the best, like streaming TV show that's based on sports has got to be Letterkenny.
I have not ever watched.
You haven't watched Letterkenny?
I have not watched Letterkenny.
Oh my gosh, it's so good.
Got to put that on my list.
Hilarious.
Is that
hockey? Yeah.
What service is that on?
It's on Hulu.
Okay. All right.
It began in Canada, was like their big sitcom there, and everybody here loved it. So then Hulu picked it up and like took over the production and everything. But
I might have to watch that.
Oh, it's great.
All right. So now we need to get shows like that in the St. Louis area.
We do. What's the St. Louis culture that we can like export?
Like not to go all political here, but I think that's part of what we as a city struggle with. When you think about the Midwest cities that are thriving, they have something. When you think about Nashville, you think about music. I mean, you and I, Michael, have talked about this off the air. We do not utilize the riverfront as much as we should. There's
all the buildings that their exhaust fans facing the riverfront.
But part of the thing here to help St. Louis is we do have to find that identity, and the identity can't just be that there's this big metal thing on the riverfront that's pretty cool.
What was the was it Wings? Well, there was some classic TV show, classic for like early 90s. It was
John Larroquette show?
Yes, the John Larroquette show. Thank you.
Yeah, he was he ran the downtown St. Louis bus station.
That's right. And I knew it had to do with transportation.
I'm going to get the name wrong. It's either Chi McBride or Chi McBride. CHI McBride. I don't know how to pronounce his first name. He's been in a lot of stuff. Really good actor. He was the janitor in that show, which was awesome.
Wow.
Like you go look at the cast, and it was a really, really good cast.
Something else I think that flies under the radar is I actually haven't watched much of it, but Superstore.
Yeah.
Based in a Walmart type of big box store in St. Louis.
Is it real? I didn't know
and
that.
I've seen like 3 episodes.
Okay.
And so they do drop in, like the store manager's like, I have a lunch in Clayton I have to get to, or something like that.
Okay.
So
I've not seen that.
that was a big show on NBC. So that was good for St. Louis.
Yeah. The isn't David Harbour's going to be doing a show that's supposedly based in St.
Really?
Louis? I think it's like an HBO show.
Well, that'll be
I
great.
believe. Yeah. All right. Thanks, Michael.
Thanks.
That's Michael Calhoun talking a little St. Louis stuff. Anytime I can bring up Ted Lasso, I jump at the opportunity to do so, even though I could not remember that it was AFC Richmond. But I'm looking forward to the next season of Ted Lasso. Let's jump. You know what? We'll take an early break here because that way we can have kind of a long, extended baseball conversation. So we'll break right now. We'll come back. If you want to chime in, by the way, on anything Cardinals related, to me, for whatever reason, today kind of feels like the day where this offseason is really starting to get going. And there was a lot of moves made today, and not by the Cardinals, but a lot of moves made today with players being players opting into contracts, players opting out of contracts. Also, we talked about this a little bit on Rush Hour Sports, but I'll bring it back up. The ridiculousness of something that happened with one of the biggest name players on the Milwaukee Brewers and how it represents something that's kind of wrong with baseball overall. So if you want to chime in on the baseball conversation, you can do so. We'll take phone calls, text messages, tweets, 314-436-7900, 314-436-7900. If you're watching on the video stream, we can address those comments as well. We're back with more coming up in just a moment. This is Gray Bar Sports Open Line on KMOX.
Overhead Door Company of St. Louis, the genuine, the original, present 100 years of
host of the KMOX Sports Open Line, congratulations to America's greatest radio station, 100 years strong as the voice of St. Louis.
That was fun. I hadn't heard that Mike Grimm one. So many great names have come through here at KMOX. It's just, sometimes it's crazy to think about that. And it's been really cool, all these 100-year celebration spots that you're hearing and some voices from the past, which are awesome. Earlier in that break, we heard a lot from the Blues winning the Stanley Cup. Just really, really cool stuff. And it reminds you, not that we need to be reminded here at KMOX, but it's a reminder of what the station is, what it has been, what it continues to be. Welcome back in. This is a Gray Bar Sports Open Line on KMOX, 314-436-7900, 314-436-7900. That's how you call. That's how you text. You can tweet at me if you'd like, at Matt Pauley on air, MattPauley on air. Or for those of you who are watching on the video stream, you can just leave a comment in the chat. You know, so one of our common commenters on the video chat, I think somewhat sarcastically, keeps talking about, oh, I guess we're going to have to be paying attention to the Cardinals minor leagues. That's where stuff's going to be happening. If you, with all due respect to everything's happening with the Cardinals organization right now, I think if you take a step back and just look at the team from this past year, while they left a lot to be desired, where they didn't win as many games as you would like them to win, there were still some very compelling things that happened with the 2025 St. Louis Cardinals. And you can choose to spend your time however you want to choose to spend your time. It's not my job to tell you that you're right or wrong. But if you were so upset about the fact that John Mozeliak was still around, if you were so upset about the fact that Oliver Marmol is the Cardinals manager, that you just decided to take a step back and not even really pay attention to what was going on, you missed some good stuff. Individually, you missed some good stuff. Team wasn't good enough. I'm not trying to put lipstick on a pig right here. That's not what I'm doing. It was a below 500 season. They may have been an above 500 team if they didn't sell at the deadline, although I also think the impact of selling at the deadline maybe was not as much as we may want to say it is, because quite honestly, the bullpen pieces that stepped into those more high leverage roles after the deadline, they all did a really nice job. The only time you really started to run into trouble in that area was when those guys were down, and then you had to go to that next group, and that next group really struggled. Like, okay, so here's a message that just came in. Said, there was nothing good about last year, dude. Really? You don't think there was anything good? You don't think there was anything good about the 2025 Cardinals? Hey, Mason Wynn just won a Gold Glove. Watching him play defense every day, that was a whole lot of fun. You don't think that was good? You don't think watching Matthew Liberatore transform from being a reliever to moving into a starter's role and just watching that evolution, and there's still something left to be desired there? You don't think that was good? You don't think watching Brendan Donovan, especially when he was healthy, playing at all-star level, you don't think that was good? You don't think it was fun when Victor Scott did crazy things in the outfield defensively? Scott had a terrible offensive season, but that doesn't take away from what he did from a defensive standpoint. You don't think it was good that Matt Swanson took a big step forward? You don't think it was good that Riley O'Brien took a big step forward? You don't think any of these things were good? Like, that's just being short-sighted, right? That's not being real about the things that have to happen for this team to get back to the level of competing for where we want to see this team competing. We want to see this team competing for playoff spots, for division championships, for league championships, and for World Series. There's nothing wrong with setting the expectations at that place for this team moving forward. And they did not meet those goals. They did not win enough games this past year. But if we're going to take the Ricky Bobby approach to it, you're being short-sighted, and you got your head up your you-know-what. If you can't acknowledge the fact that there were some good things that happened this year. And that's where this club is at. you can move forward with some of these guys. And you know what? There was also value in learning that maybe there's some of these guys you can't trust. You know, I don't know what's going to happen with Jordan Walker moving forward. I don't, but I feel a whole lot worse about Jordan Walker right now than I do this time last year. I do. He's still really young. He still has the pieces to turn into a very compelling baseball player. But I think we learned this past year that he can't be guaranteed of anything going into spring training next year. So there was value. There was value in some things. And I am not going to get into an argument about whether or not the value was worth it or not. If all you care about is the end wins and losses, why do you watch TV show? Why do you watch TV show? Watch the first episode, watch the last episode. Everything that happens in between doesn't matter, right? Doesn't matter. If that's the approach that you're going to take, that nothing that happened in the baseball season last year mattered, nothing was good because it didn't result in enough victories. I don't know what to tell you because I think that's an asinine statement, to be perfectly honest with you. Text message said month of May was the Cards highlight reel. It was a great month. Yeah, it was. In some ways, it was actually not so good because it reeled people like me into thinking the team was better than they actually were. But it was a lot of fun in the moment, and you could start to kind of squint and see what the team could be. So that, yes, in the moment that was good. I think I look back personally and I say I got sucked in by that, and I wasn't alone on that. But I don't have a problem telling you when I get sucked in by things. I got sucked in by the month of May, and I thought that it might continue on. And really, if you look at what the team did from June on, it was not good. But from an individual standpoint, you could go to the ballpark on any given night and see something pretty special happen. Whether the team won or lost that night, you could see something special happen. Real quick, I mentioned this during Rush Hour Sports today. I want to bring this back up for folks who maybe were not with us then. I get frustrated when baseball owners and baseball front offices make decisions that can have a negative impact on the team, and they're doing it with the motivation of a very small amount of money. Just as I was frustrated with the Cardinals last year that they went to arbitration with Brendan Donovan over I think it was $800,000. I think I have that right. If that wasn't $800,000, it was somewhere in that neighborhood. Like, to me, walking into a room for arbitration and telling Brendan Donovan what you don't like about him and why he doesn't deserve to earn $800,000 more than what you want to pay him, I didn't think that was worth it. I thought it was worth $800,000 to avoid that moment. The Milwaukee Brewers, and I have a hard time being overly critical of the Brewers because their track record of doing things at a really high level and being smarter than just about every single thing that they do. It turns into gold seemingly. But today they declined an option on catcher William Contreras to save less than $1 million. So they declined the option. It was a $12 million option. Instead, he'll go through the arbitration process. In the arbitration process, the projected number for him is $11.1 million. There was also a $100,000 buyout. So we'll see what the numbers are eventually. But they turned down an option. They're making him make less money for $800,000, and now they may end up going to arbitration with him. Those sort of things have to stop in baseball. They just do. Those are healthy organizations. Don't do those things. And it's funny when I'm talking about the Brewers, who seem like maybe the healthiest organization out there because they get more out of what they have than just about anybody. But I see that and I go, what are they doing? This is a guy that you want to build around. This is one of the key members of your team, and you're going to make him take a pay cut for less than $1 million because you can. My thought process has always been, if you're somebody who signs a contract in your arbitration years and has options on it, well, the options blow out arbitration. So if a team doesn't pick up your option, then they essentially become free agents, like non-tendering. I don't think what the Brewers did today should be allowed. We'll get to Dale Schilling in just a second, but for Dudley, who I was talking to earlier, said that he doesn't think that I was born near here, so I don't get it. I was born here. I was born in St. Louis. I lived in St. Louis my entire young life until I went to college. I was gone for a little while and I came back. So no, I am from St. Louis, proud of being from St. Louis. And that has nothing to do with my point on all of this. I can just look at things and say, you know what? Wins and losses are the most important thing. Everything that you need to do needs to be for eventual wins and losses. But there are other things that can happen that can help lead to future wins and losses. And did they accomplish as much as they would have liked to have accomplished this year in that and setting some things up for the future? I would bet that there's maybe a few more questions left to be answered than they would have liked going into the year, but it was not a fruitless season by any stretch of the mind. We will take a break, and when we come back, we are going to talk with Dale Schilly. So City SC has a new sporting director coming in. What does that, what should we know about this guy? Like, I'm not the person to break this thing down, but it is somebody with an MLS track record, and it's also somebody, based off what I've read, who might be changing the trajectory of the way the team is played, really, or the way the team plays the game. Since Luch Pfannenstiel was brought in, no matter who was the head coach, they had a system that was in place. And what I want to know is that system going to be drastically different? Is the type of players they want to bring in going to be drastically different? Is it going to look different on the field based off the vision of the sporting director? We're going to talk with Dale Schilly, and hopefully we'll get a little bit of a little clarity on the situation. We'll do that coming up in just a moment. This is a Gray Bar Sports Open Line on KMOX.
If you or anyone you care about is facing a family legal matter, call court.
More than two.
Straight Realty is a licensed broker in the state of Missouri, Kansas, and Nevada.
The countdown to kickoff starts here. Friday's focus on Mizzou, the Chiefs, and the NFL. Only on KMOX.
So I always try to admit when there's things that are going on that I want to talk about that I don't have the expertise to speak intelligently on, and this would be one of those things. City SC has appointed Corey Ray as their next sporting director. I have a hard time evaluating somebody taking over a sporting director job, looking at their past and knowing what it might mean for City moving forward, but it's obviously a very big deal and a very big job. And this organization at a crossroads right now, and this hiring is going to point them in whatever direction they are going to go moving forward. And who better to speak intelligently about this than somebody that you listen to on the Y98 City broadcast. And he's also the academy director over at City. He is our good friend, Dale Shilley. Dale, thanks for taking some time. How are you?
I'm good. I hope I can live up to the questions and the expectations.
I'm confident that you can. And let's just start with this. What was your initial feeling when you heard that it was Corey Ray who was getting the job?
Well, at first I had to do a little digging and get on the phone and try to find some things out, and had the opportunity to meet him. And I feel really good about where he's at, his experience with the league and with the building of rosters and putting teams together. So my initial thoughts are positive. I like what I like what I hear, and I like my first impression.
How important is that? Because that seems to be something that the spotlight is really being put on right now, that he has a lot of experience building in MLS as opposed to building European teams or teams in other areas. Why is it so important that a guy who is familiar with this league and what it takes to win this league is somebody who's going to run this team?
Yeah, it's just it's a huge advantage. When you talk to the guys in the team that have come over from Europe, they talk about the travel, they talk about the schedule, they talk about the time of year. Those are all some things that you can hear it, and you can have an understanding that it's out there and it's a problem. But until you live it, or you try to build rosters that have certain players on it that have to go through that experience for the first time, it's difficult. And that's just one example of some of the nuances of the MLS and playing professional soccer in this country have. There's a number of them, and to have somebody that's been in the environment, been in the league, knows the ins and outs and the ups and downs and the nooks and crannies is really important. It was really evident when I spoke to Corey, just that he's got experience. He's been there. He knew exactly some of the things I was referring to in our, short discussion. It didn't take an explanation. So it was, you feel like that you're starting a couple steps ahead.
I'm guessing a lot of people are listening to this, and one of the first questions that comes to their mind is, what is so different about MLS when comparing to professional teams and professional leagues in Europe, in South America, in other parts of our world?
I would say just the way the game's played. It's more tactical. It's in Europe, let's say it's more tactical. The pace, it's going to sound strange. The pace can be a little bit less, even though the game is highly technical and skilled, and their understanding is far beyond where we are currently. But I think that lends itself to a more back and forth transitional game that we have here in the States. So that would be one of the things, just dealing with a little bit different style of play, a mixture of different styles and systems in the way of playing from South Americans, Central Americans, and then some Europeans and Americans. It's just a melting pot and a little bit different than what you see, say, over in Europe.
He's been part of some organizations that have a lot of success. He also does have a year in this role at another MLS team. How important is it that even if it was just 1 year that he's basically been in this seat before?
It's such a huge thing. The leadership piece of pulling the sporting department, the sporting department together into a unified group across the different levels, from the academy to City 2 to the first team. When you talk about sustainability and being able to put something together and carry it out over the years, being able to lead a group is really important. And again, I think having that experience and being through it, both as the second in command and the one in command, I think is it's important. It's a feather in his cap.
We are talking with Dale Schilly, getting his thoughts on the hiring of Corey Ray. He is the next sporting director for City SC. Throughout the entire existence of this organization, there have been basic principles that have basically been the same. The way that Lutz built the team, and whether it was Bradley or Hackworth or Melberg or Critchley most recently, even though they all put their own spin on things, there were some things that were kind of just the base system. Is that going to change, do you think, with Corey Ray?
I don't know. I mean, the club has, an identity that we've gotten a little bit away from, but it's easy enough to come back towards. But I don't have an indication from Corey as to, is that where it's going to go? Listening to him talk and having the interaction that I had with him, I have a feeling he's going to call the right people together from the sporting department, have a conversation and get consensus and buy-in from everybody to make sure that all of us are on the same page and we're pulling in the same direction. Just talking to him, alignment, buy-in, culture, all of those things are prevalent in the way that he appears to lead. So I would say that, we'll land somewhere and then we'll all pull in the same direction. My gut says it'll be similar to where we started.
Okay, that's really good to know. What are the, obviously you still got to figure out who the coach is going to be, but even beyond that big picture type thing, a number of players had options picked up. There were some players who didn't have options picked up, but the door hasn't been closed on them being part of this team moving forward. When he starts this job, and I know with visa issues and everything, it's not going to be until later on this month, but how much work is he going to have right at the beginning of his tenure?
Yeah, overwhelming. Just the time of year. It's almost like he would have less work to do if he would have got here in late January, early February. But he's here at the tail end of the season where there's a lot of work yet to be done. So he's drowning right now, I'm sure, with trying to figure out how to prioritize. And obviously, the first team and the head coach becomes, I would assume, his priority. And I can't even imagine what he sees on his plate right now, knowing that he knows more about what he's missing than I do, because of his experience and where he's been, in the different sporting departments in Toronto, Columbus, and Montreal. So, he is. I'm sure his head's spinning right now.
When Lutz was let go, one of the quotes that a lot of people made a big deal out of, and maybe more so than should have been, was a quote at one point came out that, the hope was to have a new sporting director in place by the time next season started. And everybody was like, what in the world are you talking about? This has got to be a job that gets filled ASAP. Well, it gets filled, as you said, right at the tail end of the season. Basically, the entire offseason is in front of us. How key is it that he does get here at this point, even if his plate might be a little bit more full than if he got here in a couple months? Does this do things in terms of, you're not punting on next season? Like, he is able to come in and have almost a full off season putting this thing together?
Yeah. I mean, today we had a series of meetings and, he's had a chance to sit down with a number of key people in the department and in the organization, and important that, I know that has seen some players. I don't want to say he's met with players, but I know that he has crossed paths with some players, knew who they were. Those are important steps. I mean, you've got to start someplace. And right now is as good as time as any. So, I think it's huge that he gets this bit of time to organize and to start making some headway in for next year. To me, he does not seem the guy that wants to sit and wait and observe. I think he recognizes the situation and how important moving now is.
I don't mean to be let's pat ourselves on the back kind of guy, but the facility is incredible. It's world class. I remember being over there when the U.S. men's national team was in training, and they were all talking about how the facility, anybody who wanted to build one, they would just replicate what City did. Does the infrastructure, even going to the buildings and the setup, does that infrastructure that already exists help be able to make this job an appealing one?
Oh, for sure, because you don't want to just be the sporting director for the first team. In other words, you don't want to be just a general manager for the first team. He wants to run the department. He wants to run it from the under 14 academy team up through the first team and create that alignment and that process of players coming in at an age and being able to move on into the stadium. The facility helps make that all possible. As a matter of fact, part of the discussion I had with him was, I can't even imagine trying to integrate an academy with the academy being off-site from the first team and the second team. So the opportunity that we have by having the facility that we have and putting everybody under one roof is huge. Very appealing for a sporting director.
Okay, so finishing up with this, we're talking with Dale Schilly. I think people generally have an understanding when teams are in rebuilds, when teams are not playing the way that they would like to play. Like, we understand when looking at the St. Louis Cardinals that for them to get back to being a team that's competing at the highest level, it's going to probably be a few years down the road. I don't think people are as understanding and of how long it can take in MLS. So the team was not very good this year. How quickly can you turn things around and be a very, very competitive team?
I would say within the year. I mean, this is, the league has been built on parity. The league is set up to help teams rebuild and start afresh. If you look at Nashville last year, they finished the league, if I'm not mistaken, in 11th place out of the playoffs. And this year they finished, in the top, not in the top four, but just outside the top four. And now they're in a playoff with Miami. They have one game left. They have to go to Miami to move on to the next round. Cincinnati had similar situations a couple years ago when they won the wooden spoon for the worst record in the league, ended up in the playoffs the next year. Not to raise the expectations, not to raise to create false hope for fans, but it can happen in this league.
So I can't say that Dale Schilly is predicting that this team is going to win the conference next year?
No, I would say that's not the case, or else I won't get on a late call with you.
All right. Very, very good. Dale, thank you. I know this was last minute. I wanted to talk about this. Right. I knew I couldn't talk about it intelligently. So thank you for picking me up.
No, I appreciate the opportunity and looking forward to having a couple more of these.
Awesome. Very good. That's Dale Schilly, of course, part of the broadcast on Y98 during the year. And then his day job, he's the academy director over at City SC. And he does a bunch of other stuff too. He's very busy, and appreciate him being able to share with us some of his thoughts on just what it's going to look like. I'm rooting for the guy, right? I am very much rooting for him. I believe the press conference is going to be tomorrow afternoon to introduce him. So we'll have a little bit more to talk about tomorrow on this show when we hear from Ray on what he thinks. But look, bottom line here, it is very clear that this organization made the decision that they were going to most prioritize bringing someone in with MLS experience. And that's fine, because that's the league you're playing in. You are trying to win. And we see it in other sports sometimes. And when you try to start comparing soccer to other sports, a lot of times something gets lost in there. But when you bring people in who don't have experience in your league, it's a gamble. It's a crapshoot. You don't know if it's always going to work. And not that this is guaranteed to work, but this guy knows the league. And that's going to be again, I thought Lutz did a nice job. Him hiring Olaf Melberg was a terrible decision. And at the end of the day, that's the decision that came back to bite him. Firing Bradley Carnell was probably a bad decision as well. I think we can retroactively look back and say, well, would have you been better off if you would have given Carnell a little bit more time? And they probably would be. The path would have been different. But also, look, I've just heard some rumblings about some stuff going on behind closed doors. I think Carnell was ruffling some feathers. And that so he might have been on that path no matter what to not being there. That all that stuff really doesn't matter at this point. What does matter is Corey Ray's coming in, and he's got a big job in front of him because there are expectations. This team is still relatively new, but there are expectations for City moving forward. And you just think about it now, man, the decision makers across St. Louis, because Doug Armstrong, although he's still going to be in the organization, he's still going to be part of the decision-making process. Alex Steen is moving into that role. Chaim Bloom with the Cardinals. Now Corey Ray with City SC. There are a lot of big-time decision-makers that are relatively early on in their tenures with the respective teams. Okay, we will take a break and we'll come back and we are going to wrap up the program for the night. Don't go anywhere. You are locked into a Gray Bar Sports Open Line on KMOX.
The voice of St. Louis is turning
The Doctor's Doctors, Greg Birdie, Ranjan Malhotra, Robert Brusati, and Andy Royer. You can too. YourEyeDoc.com.
Welcome back to the Gray Bar Sports Open Line. Once again, Matt Pauley on King MOX.
Just a couple minutes left in the program. We've got our Gas House Gang replay, which will be coming up after the 8 o'clock news. My name's Matt Pauley. Non-sports thing here in the final couple minutes of the show. Kyle Sixta, when you were a child and you were losing teeth, did your parents like help when the tooth was really, really loose, or did you just take care of it yourself?
I think they helped. I think so.
Okay. So my wife, when she was little, I guess her dad generally helped her. I don't think my parents ever helped me with a loose tooth. I think when it was time for them to come out, I took care of it.
You were on your own.
Yeah.
Huh.
So my daughter, who is 6, she's at the period where she's losing teeth. Her first tooth was coming out, and my wife had me like assist with it. Like it was a normal thing. And it was kind of weird to me because that's not how I grew up, but whatever. So I helped her. And then I was thinking, I'm like, is this what it's going to be now? Is just like the expectation is going to be that every time she has a super loose tooth, dad's going to have to come help. Well, she had a super loose tooth yesterday. She came to me. I kind of wiggled. I said, you know what? It's not quite ready. Not quite ready to go. And then she went to school today. She lost the tooth at school at lunchtime when she was eating. So I feel like I'm now off the hook moving forward, that she's done it on her own. I don't have to help anymore.
I think you're good. And if it comes down to it, maybe you tie the rope around the doorknob. And
she did. So they gave her like a little plastic thing to take it home in that was, shaped like a tooth. She was trying to show everybody the tooth because she's 6, and she dropped it at one point and couldn't find it. And I guess the entire class got on their hands and knees looking for said tooth. And one of the young boys in her class found it, picked it up. I found the tooth.
There we go.
So very sanitary things going on inside of the first grade classroom with my daughter. I don't mean to bore people with conversations about my kid, but her dropping the tooth is very on point. It's what I would expect, which is okay. All right, that is it for a Gray Bar Sports Open Line. We'll talk to you again tomorrow, 5 o'clock for Rush Hour, and then Sports Open Line after that here on KMOX.
House stealing. It's a nightmare that's real.